So today I'll be delving into a critical moment in the evolving relationship between the United States of America and four African nations: Ghana, Nigeria, Cameroon, and Ethiopia. On July 8, 2025, the United States Department of State dropped a bombshell, announcing sweeping changes to its non-immigrant visa policies that have drastically altered travel conditions for citizens of these countries. This new policy clamps down hard, restricting some visas and entry permits' valid duration, a massive shift from the multi-year, multiple entry terms we've known for years. Framed as a global reciprocity realignment, this decision has sent shockwaves across Africa, raising serious questions about its ripple effects on trade, education, and cultural ties. So today, I'm diving deep into these unprovoked visa restrictions, their impact, and what they mean for U.S.-Africa relations. Trust me, you won't want to miss this, so stick with me to the very end. Hit the like button as I kick things off, and subscribe to this channel for the latest updates on African and global affairs. Let's get right into it. All right, let's break this down. The United States has thrown a curveball at Ghana, Nigeria, Cameroon, and Ethiopia with a visa policy that's got everyone talking. Gone are the days of multi-year, multiple-entry visas that made it easy for students, business folks, and tourists to hop across the Atlantic. Now, nearly all non-immigrant and non-diplomatic visas are locked into single-entry, 3-month terms. That's a huge blow for folks who relied on flexible travel to build careers, pursue education, or seal business deals in the U.S. The State Department calls this a global reciprocity realignment, claiming it's about matching visa terms to what these countries offer American citizens. But is that really the full story? For nations like Nigeria, which sends thousands of students to the U.S., and Ghana, a hub for trade and cultural exchange, this policy is a gut punch. It's disrupting the flow of talent and ideas that's been a cornerstone of U.S.-Africa relations for decades. Imagine being a Nigerian student planning a 4-year degree in the U.S., now forced to reapply for a visa every 3 months. That's not just inconvenient, it's a financial and emotional burden. Leaders across these nations are sounding the alarm, warning that this could choke off opportunities for their people. Stick with me as we unpack how this policy is shaking things up and what these countries are doing about it. Now, let's talk about the so-called reciprocity the U.S. is pushing. The State Department says they're just leveling the playing field, aligning visa terms with what Ghana, Nigeria, Cameroon, and Ethiopia offer Americans. But here's the tea. Nigeria is stepping up to say, that's not the whole picture. They're issuing 5-year multiple-entry visas to U.S. citizens, way more generous than the 3-month single-entry deal the U.S. is now dishing out. Ghana's not slacking either, having issued over 28,500 multiple-entry visas to Americans in 2025 alone. Cameroon offers up to a year, and Ethiopia's got 90-day visas for U.S. travelers. So what's the real deal here? Some leaders are pointing fingers at geopolitics. Nigeria's recent cozying up to BRICS nations, like at the summit in Brazil, might have ruffled feathers in Washington. Could this be the U.S. flexing its muscle to show who's boss? Whatever the motive, Ghana and Nigeria are not taking this lying down. They're calling for a rethink, stressing that these restrictions are way out of proportion and could derail the cultural and educational exchanges that have bonded these nations with the U.S. for years. I'm diving deeper into this diplomatic drama, so keep it locked right here. Let's get real about what these visa changes mean for everyday people. Nigeria, the top African sender of students to the U.S., had over 17,000 students enrolled in 2024, with a 13.5% jump from the year before, according to the Open Doors report. Ghana, Cameroon, and Ethiopia aren't far behind, with thousands of students, entrepreneurs, and artists crossing the Atlantic to chase dreams and build bridges. These new restrictions, single-entry 3-month visas, are like throwing a wrench into those plans. Students now face the hassle and cost of reapplying every few months, while business folks and cultural ambassadors might think twice about U.S. trips altogether. This isn't just about travel logistics. It's about cutting off the lifeblood of cultural and educational exchange. Think about Ghana's vibrant film industry or Ethiopia's growing tech scene. These rely on open channels with the U.S. for collaboration and growth. Leaders in these nations are worried sick that the restrictions will dim these connections, hurting not just individuals, but the shared history of friendship with the U.S. But don't count these countries out. They're already looking at ways to keep the momentum going, from regional partnerships to new opportunities within Africa. Stay with me as we explore how they're fighting back. Now, let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture. These visa restrictions aren't happening in a vacuum. The US just slapped even tougher measures on Eritrea, Somalia, and Sudan, suspending all immigrant and non-immigrant visas. Add to that the new rule about vetting social media accounts for hostility toward US values. And it's clear the Trump administration is doubling down on tight immigration controls. For Ghana, Nigeria, Cameroon, and Ethiopia, the timing feels suspicious. Nigeria is pushed to align with BRICS and Ghana's leadership in ECOWAS, like hosting the 50th anniversary celebrations in April 2025. Show these nations stepping up on the global stage. Despite the pressure, these countries are showing serious grit. Ghana's government is standing firm, expressing solidarity with its citizens and pushing for a quick fix. Nigeria is calling the policy unfair and urging the US to reconsider, highlighting the damage to long-standing ties. Cameroon and Ethiopia are likely to join the chorus, advocating for their people's right to global mobility. These nations are also leaning into African solutions, like the African Continental Free Trade Area, to boost intra-African trade and education. It's a powerful reminder that these countries won't let external policies hold them back. Let's keep going to see how they're paving their own path. The governments of Ghana, Nigeria, Cameroon, and Ethiopia aren't sitting idle. They're fighting back with diplomacy and determination. Nigeria is making it clear that their 5-year visas for Americans show a commitment to openness, challenging the US's reciprocity excuse. Ghana calling for an early resolution, standing shoulder to shoulder with its people who are feeling the pinch. Both nations are engaging US officials to push for a policy that respects their contributions to bilateral ties. The State Department says visa policies are under ongoing review, which gives a glimmer of hope for a compromise. But these African nations aren't waiting around. They're doubling down on regional strength, building trade corridors like the Accra-Lagos route, and fostering educational exchanges within ECOWAS. These moves show a commitment to keeping opportunities alive for their people, whether through partnerships with African neighbors or new global alliances. It's about ensuring that young Ghanaians, Nigerians, Cameroonians, and Ethiopians can still chase their dreams, even if the US road is rockier now. This fight for fairness is about more than visas. It's about asserting Africa's place in the world. Stick around as we wrap this up with a look at the future. So, where do we go from here? The US visa restrictions are a tough blow for Ghana, Nigeria, Cameroon, and Ethiopia, but these nations are proving they're tougher. The single-entry, 3-month visa limits may slow travel to the US, but they can't stop the ambition of these countries to shine. By leaning into the African Continental Free Trade Area and regional blocs like ECOWAS, they're creating new pathways for trade, education, and cultural exchange right here on the continent. Ghana's 28,500 visas to Americans and Nigeria's generous 5-year terms show a spirit of openness that the US could learn from. This is a moment for African unity to take center stage. As these nations push for a diplomatic resolution with the US, they're also building a future where their youth don't need to japa to thrive. From Nigeria's booming student population to Ghana's cultural festivals, these countries are crafting opportunities at home and across Africa. The message is clear. No policy can dim the resilience and dreams of these nations. Thanks for sticking with me on this deep dive into US-Africa relations. Hit that like button to inform others. Subscribe for more updates on African and global affairs. And let's keep the conversation going. Thank you, and on to the next video. Be sure to check this next video out.